Yo, what's going on, guys? Got a nice little recap for you today. Today was pretty clean, easy to read, in my opinion. So let's get straight into it. So first things first, coming on to the 4 hour time frame, I noticed, we had this unfilled 4 hour gap here on NQ. Now, overnight, you may have noticed that ES had tapped into this gap. We were seeing reactions up away from it. And I'll kind of get into, why I thought NQ would end up filling that gap before we, reversed higher. But that was pretty much my high time frame condition today. Looking at the hourly here, really wasn't a whole lot to see. So this is your obviously 9 a.m. candle, the 9:30 open. And before this candle here, we had this SMT up here. So we had this SMT with ES, and at this point, this SMT was holding, and it kind of looked like we were going to go towards the London draw down here. But ultimately on the hourly, I didn't really have any confluences to go off of just besides the SMT here at the top. Coming to the 15-minute time frame, this is kind of where I start to be able to build some kind of a bias coming into the pre-market. And honestly, pre-market, I was bearish, at least into the London lows here and this unfilled 4 hour. Now, basically, like I mentioned, we had this SMT up here at the top. And this was, a London high SMT. So London high actually was here. This was just the external high. And you can see here, NQ ended up taking that and ES failed to take it. So at that point, I was pretty bearish, assuming we are going to take out London low. And then around this area here, ES had ended up taking out London. We had SMT. So I was a bit wary of shorting down to that. Other than that, we had this bullish 15-minute gap here that ended up flipping here around 7 a.m. in the pre-market. And then we had this bearish 15-minute inside of that. We ended up making an SMT that was holding, and we continued to short down into London and that 4 hour, as you can see. I probably could have caught some kind of a short here, but I don't trade usually out of the AM session hours, so I faded that and just wanted to see what the open would do. So let's scale down and see what we had coming into the market open. So coming on the 1 minute time frame right here, I saw that the 1 minute here, this is your open here at 9:30, right down here. So right off the 9:30 open, we came down and took out London. So from there, I pretty much didn't want to short anymore. I'm not going to be shorting through this 4 hour gap and trying to short towards Asia, because Asia can very well be protected just because we have that 4 hour. And also, if you look at the hourly here, Asia's not really a low in the market. It's simply just, a wick low inside of a leg up. So at that point here, I'm not assuming we're going to go for Asia low because it's not really a low in the market. This would be your true draw on liquidity. And, with all this bullish price action here, this 1 hour order block, these fair value gaps, etc., this is, looked at as a protected low. Now, on this move down here, once we came and swept out London, tapped into the 4 hour, ES ended up tapping into this hourly order block. And I don't necessarily look at that as divergence, but I look at it as, okay, NQ tapped into bullish PD arrays, ES tapped into bullish PD arrays. Now, are we reacting away from those? So here at this point, on the 1 minute when we swept out this low, some people may have just taken this immediate 1 minute flip up. And that's what I have marked out here. So you can see, we had this 1 minute gap right here from 9:29. And then once we swept out this London low, tapped into the 4 hour, we can see that we inversed this gap. And, it looked like a solid trade to take. Now, I actually didn't take this simply because I didn't like this closure here. And on top of that, I'm not fully convinced that we're automatically bullish off of this sweep, being that we, barely filled in the 4 hour. Now, another thing that also caught my eye was that we had equilibrium of our range sitting inside of this 4 hour gap. My fib tool here on the Top Step X is kind of a little bit botched, but it'll show you equilibrium. So if we come here and take, this price leg, you can see here, this green area, this is your equilibrium. 0.5, so 50% of this range, and you can see that the consequent encroachment, or the midpoint of this 4 hour gap, aligned perfectly with equilibrium. So that was another area that I saw we reacted from as well. And once we were here, another reason why I thought maybe price would dig lower. But yeah, this 1 minute closure right here with this huge wick at the top, not good enough for me to take. So I faded that. And if anything, I actually wanted to see if we would remain weak and end up going for the Asia lows, or even deeper into this 4 hour. So basically, we ended up coming up here on the 932, made this SMT. And I didn't take this flip down just because, we had already taken out London low, which would have been an area for me to go break even. And that was taken. And then we can't guarantee we're going to, come back now for this low of day. So I was just watching price action here and low key wanted to see a kind of a retrace at this point here. Once I just saw we were super weak, I did want to see some kind of a retrace to go lower for, Asia low, because at this point it did kind of just seem like we were plummeting heavily. Now, I kept in mind that, we're in this 4 hour, we could very well start to reverse out. I also, kept in mind that we tapped equilibrium at this point right here. So now what I was looking at was these set of 1 minute fair value gaps. So at this point, these are bears, right? And I'm looking to see, okay, when these candles come in, are we reacting at all, bearish, or are we just pumping through? And you can see these candles pump through with some volume. So at that point was my first confirmation, okay, we might want to long. Now, at this point here, we had also had this 5 minute gap. So I also wanted to see, are we going to respect it? Are we going to flip the gap? And at this point here, I hadn't taken any trades up, even though this was a very clean close above to target higher. I wanted to see if that 5 minute would get closed or if we would start to trend back above it. So we can see here we came into the 5 minute initially and it sent us down into this 1 minute gap. And I told myself, okay, if this 1 minute gap flips, I might take a stab short. But if this 1 minute gap holds, I'm going to assume that we're, in a reversal to go higher. So here's where I saw, this 1 minute gaps holding. And I saw these, couple candles print and saw good volume out of them. So I ended up taking an entry here on this 946 candle. And I just put my stop here at this, internal low. And essentially now, if we're bullish and we're looking to flip higher for the draws above, this should be a protected low. So we had about a 31 point stop here. And then I went break even here at, kind of this wick high into this, 1 minute, wick right here. Essentially, price could have tapped into this 1 minute wick, maybe rejected, like you can see here on the 951 candle. So that for me is just a good break even spot. And then initially I wanted to TP these triple equal highs. I saw these in pre-market and I told myself, okay, if we're looking bullish, I'll, attempt to take a trade to those triple equal highs. And you can see they were perfect equal highs to the tick. So that was my initial target. But once I started seeing price get like super strong at this point here, I extended it up to this high here at 045. So it was just kind of this external high right here, which was some type of like AM session high from some previous session. And yeah, so I extended my TP up there for about 70 points and then a 2.2 R. I am on combines again, like I said, this month has been super difficult. But this week I've been super focused in on utilizing my discretion better. Also being able to take red days. So if we go over here, we can see yesterday I didn't get to make a recap, but it wasn't that eventful. Tried a few longs, got stopped on one, break even on a couple of them. And then this $320 win was just basically a long that I ended up closing early just because, I didn't need to be taking a trade at this time anyway. So I closed yesterday red for about 832 per account, as you could see, and then came to today, made up that loss and then some. So that's kind of been my focus, just trying to get better at taking red days and then, being better with discretion. And today, I saw a nice setup that I liked. Volume was there, structure was there, and you could see it delivered. But yeah, I'm going to try and get these recaps out more consistently. My sleep schedule is completely flipped, so I literally sleep throughout the day most of the times. But yeah, today's trade was pretty clean. This is probably a longer recap, but I just wanted to go in depth with this recap, kind of give a little bit of insight of, how I'm looking at the market in the pre-market, and then coming into the open, like what am I looking for while the market's moving, with volatility off of the open. And yeah, today this was super clean. We got this retrace here, nice continuation entry. We get a nice light retrace into this 1 minute, get a nice reaction out, and then, just continue higher. Good areas to break even, top of the range, 830 open, somewhere in this area. And then, just look to hold higher. Your triple equal highs would have been ultimately a really good TP. You're still getting a 1.3 R on this. This is a really good TP. If I was on XFAs, I more than likely would have taken profit here. But being that I'm on evals, I just went ahead and took the extended take profit while seeing the momentum in price. And yeah, so I mean, that kind of does it for the recap. As always, if there's any other content you guys want to see on the channel, be sure to let me know down in the comments. I am going to try to be more consistent with YouTube. I'm going to kind of put myself on a schedule and some kind of routine. It's around 11:30 now, so I think what I'll do is when I'm done with the markets and done doing my live streams in the morning, I'll just get right to making videos and try to get content out for you guys. But hopefully you guys do enjoy these videos, and hopefully they give you, some kind of value, as that's what I'm making it for. But yeah, until the next recap, make sure you guys drop a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.